Welcome back to Tech Talks from Commercial Baking. I'm your host, Joni Spencer. In this episode, sponsored by JLS Automation, I am speaking with Sean Spees, Director of Cartoning Solutions, about how JLS's Peregrine IS enhances operational efficiency and simplifies the user experience. Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Good morning, Joni. How are you? And appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I am great, and I am excited to talk to you about this technology because it's really cool, and I think it's game changing in the packaging area. Because one thing I've noticed is that when it comes to automation, packaging has historically come with challenges. So why is that?
Great question. So, packaging is a very fast paced, variable industry. I'm dealing with multiple SKUs, different product types, different packaging designs, along with remaining reliable is always a challenge, for manufacturers and for OEMs. Regarding labor, it's always going to be a pain point, but not necessarily reduction of labor, but also finding the right labor and the right resources that can handle automation and equipment. From a floor space perspective, it's always a challenge from fully automated end-to-end lines. The challenge comes to us OEMs because we have to be able to build small footprint machines that can handle, high capacity production rates. Finally, changeover is a big topic, and the reason for that is that a lot of manufacturers now, the high run dedicated product line runs are dwindling right now. Most manufacturers are going to smaller portions or multiple SKUs. So what that means is that we have to be very flexible in our changeover, and it has to be quick and it has to be repeatable.
Right, right. And I'm seeing a lot of that trend, broadening the portfolio, changing product sizes. And I think these bakery manufacturers, they've got to be really quick because the consumer demand is changing so rapidly, like faster than ever before. Let's talk about cartoning specifically.
Mhm.
What are some of the needs that you're seeing from your customers these days?
Yeah, great question. So, from a cartoning perspective, we face all of these challenges. The current needs of today of handling many product sizes, whether flow wrapped or thermoformed, various speeds, various sizes. The other thing we're noticing too is customers coming up with odd pack counts. What that means is instead of having, a traditional 4, 6, or 12 count, they're wanting to do 5. They're wanting to do 7 or 13 or whatever the case may be. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to position themselves against their competitors at different price points. So, when you look at robotic automation, for instance, or even cartoning, when you're not able to pick, even product counts, for instance, and place that into a carton, and whether that's done manually or robotic, that provides a little bit of an interesting challenge from an automation standpoint. Another way that, from a cartoning perspective, is materials. There's always a sustainability push with our CPGs. They're trying to reduce costs, they're trying to be more eco friendly. So, what does that mean from a cartoning manufacturer perspective? It's, we're seeing thinner substrates, we're seeing recycled material, reduced carton dimensions, anything to save a buck. But what that does, it challenges us that we got to build machines that can run these different materials effectively. From a loading perspective, we talked about labor earlier, there's a lot of manual lines out there that are still very active, depending on the product. Sometimes you can't automate. Sometimes,
Right.
manual labor is the only way to do it. But it does bring robotics into play quite a bit. And, robotics have been around for a long time. In fact, JLS, we've been doing robotic automation since 2001. So, a little over 25 years now. But it's not as just simple as, taking a robotic cell and dropping it into the plant and then pushing the start button. So,
Right.
when you look at the product orientation, the speed, the environment is also very critical. Is it washed down? Is it very dusty or cold or humid or whatever? You got to take that into consideration. And then also the product itself, when you deal with like fragility of the product and where that comes into play for us, and where we really, us or any other robotic integrator, is designing the end of arm tooling. And that's where, JLS internally, we have our expertise and we test our products. We have a whole test lab. We do our own design of end of arm tool to be able to, deal a lot with those different types of products, and helps to, pick and place with accuracy and also care for the product as well. And again, floor space, we have to be able to fit into the plant floor. A lot of times automation is the last thing that's thought of, to be honest, especially going from manual to an automated perspective, that customers want small machines, so we've got to be able to fit in those tight spaces. You're still going to need labor, and you just can't put a robot cell in a cartoning machine and labor goes away. You're still going to need the labor to load a carton magazine. You're going to need labor for filling a glue tank, but also having those qualified resources again that can troubleshoot a robotic cell and programmers. And that's a good challenge for a lot of companies because they want to do the automation, but do they have the right people to be able to do it? And last, we have to be efficient, and we have to be able to build these machines to run 3 shifts a day reliably, again, with quick changeover, and more importantly, vertical startup, which means not necessarily the speed of the changeover, but once you push that button, that you're starting to run cartons and you're starting to run product and getting sellable product out the door for the customer.
All right. So, you mentioned how you can't just drop in the robotics, move a person and turn on a switch, that it's a little bit more nuanced than that. How does the system enhance the user experience and sort of make life easier for the operator?
Yeah, great question. So in a monoblock design, you have all 3 processes under one roof. So you have the carton former, robotic loader, and the closer. Traditionally speaking, sometimes you might have multiple OEMs doing those functions. So the benefit there is you have one single machine to operate from one single source, which is a benefit to maintenance. So one point of control, for instance, it's easier for maintenance to work on. There's similar parts, one place to go for parts. You have better ergonomics for carton loading and accessibility. So one huge benefit of the Peregrine IS is the carton loading. So you have a waist level carton loading magazine platform where traditionally speaking, you might have to get up on a platform to load. And then accessibility to all 3 parts of the machine. So they can get in, get out for maintenance and cleaning and so forth. Quick and easy changeovers. You mentioned that before. The Peregrine IS can be changed over in about 5 minutes, which is
Oh, wow.
pretty impressive. And mentioning before, once we change that over, one being very easy to do and quick is once we push the button, we start running cartons. And then when you look at OEE data, which is critical for most CPGs, again, having that one system, your data retrieval is incredibly easy. And, whether we can, remote in and get that OEE data for the customer, if they have their own systems or just pull it straight from our machine, they can do that. And then it's an overall smaller area to work with where you're reducing the amount of conveyors between machines. When you look at a 20-foot long machine versus, traditional cartoning lines with conveyors could be, 40 feet or more. So it really helps to reduce that floor space.
Sean, there's one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about because I'm hearing this more and more from bakery operators, and that's sanitary design. It's really become top of mind in the packaging area, and it's just becoming increasingly more important. What are you hearing from your customers, and how are you incorporating sanitary design into the Peregrine?
Yeah, great question. Our customers are always concerned with sanitary and hygienic design machines. One of the main core values of JLS has been how we manufacture our machines. And one of our core values is making food safe and affordable. And the safety part comes from that design. So we provide sanitary levels of our machines from full washdown. So what would be considered like an IP69K caustic washdown with robots. So, with our robotic, vendor that we use, I mean, we can do full washdown robotics. And then we also provide other levels too, where we can do maybe less caustic, wipe down based on the customer need. Within like bakery, for instance, sometimes our design can be a little overkill when it comes to hygiene, but we do offer our round tube and open channel design, but it gives the customers confidence that this machine is going to be sanitary and hygienic, and it'll help with, hey, you don't want to have a recall. You don't want to have any downtime related to
Exactly.
that. So better
Exactly.
better to be safe than sorry.
Yes, it's like that phrase, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Agree 100%.
Okay, Sean, this has been an amazing conversation. This is such a cool technology, and I really appreciate your time talking about it. And I just have one more question for you. How can bakers get in touch to learn more about the Peregrine and maybe get started?
You can always visit us at www.jlsautomation.com to view our primary and secondary automation portfolio. We also have regionally based experts that can respond very quickly, typically under 24 hours. For the Peregrine IS in particular, feel free to reach out to me by email, which would be my first initial last name, so sspees@jlsautomation.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, listen, Sean, thank you again for taking time to talk to me about the Peregrine IS technology. It's really cool. I think it's game changing as the industry and consumer needs start to change more rapidly than ever. So I really appreciate your time in walking me through this.
Absolutely, Joni. Thank you again. And we're really excited about the Peregrine IS. We know it will be a game changer in the industry, and it's been a pleasure talking to you about it.